Thanks for staying with us. We settle for the details now. And Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says an access to the international markets is key on the agenda of government to restore macroeconomic stability. According to him, government is committed to a fair debt treatment with its commercial creditors. Addressing the media at an investors presentation forum by the Republic of Ghana, he maintained that this is paramount as government intends to deepen the relationship with its external creditors.
So our relationship with our commercial creditors is critical as we do plan to come back to international capital markets down the road, hereby reaffirm our determination to reach consensual restructuring outcome with our private creditors. Well, great importance to the Republic. We are fully committed to a fair debt treatment among private and official creditors. This is a guiding principle for all of our engagements, both our bilateral and our commercial credit.
The World Bank has fortunately agreed to support this fund, $250 million, $250 million US dollars. Government, again, at the space we have, so committing about $500 million to that, bringing that to $750. This then we are speaking to a number of multilaterals and also our development partners for them to support the funding of the Ghana Financial Stability Fund. So we can ensure that there are no solvency issues and that in the event of liquidity events, we'll have the resources to support them.
Meanwhile, the finance minister has also expressed optimism that Ghana will secure an IMF deal before the end of May 2023.
We sincerely hope that a rapid resolution consistent with reaching the IMF, World Bank, LIC, DSF targets can be attained. We have made significant steps in all fronts, notably related to the domestic debt restructuring being way ahead. We now expect or look forward to the discussions with our international bondholders and other external commercial creditors to work towards a solution to attain the type of stability that will be required for us to create a better future for all of us. We do at this time expect IMF board approval in May at the latest and contemplate a rapid negotiation of a memorandum of understanding with our official creditors. We hope that we could reach an agreement in principle with you, our Eurobond holders, quickly as well, and stand at your entire disposal to move as quickly and cooperatively as possible. We understand that this is a challenging time for all of us, and it is not an easy task for you to commit to offer our financial support to Ghana. Please be assured we are fully committed to working with you and your advisors to find a solution that is balanced and equitable for all parties involved. There'll be sacrifices all around. There'll be burden sharing all around. But this is a rare moment that we can cooperate, an interesting moment where Ramadan, Passover, and Easter are together. We seek your support for this period of peace and a good future.
Well, in a related development, the IMF has urged Ghana to be optimistic about securing a fund program this year. According to Managing Director Kristalina Gogiva, she's in talks with creditors to act swiftly in order for the country to secure a deal.
We have been in constant contact with the authorities in Ghana. We have worked very hard and very swiftly to have the a program for Ghana, 3 billion support program for Ghana in place. We have been urging Ghana's creditors to act swiftly. My appreciation for also the proactive role of the Minister of Finance of Ghana in reaching out to creditors. We are expecting that next week there will be discussions among creditors, and I can tell you that I use every opportunity myself to urge them to act swiftly. Let's remember that Ghana, for a long time, has done really well to tap markets to finance its growth path. It has been like all innocent bystanders hit by COVID, hit by the war in Ukraine, and it has complicated domestically the ability to finance the budget. So a country that has long track record of sound macroeconomic management ought to be supported to return to markets. So our program is a bridge for Ghana, and to tell you the truth, I'm actually quite optimistic. I think Ghana is going to move. The creditors are going to move, and we are going to move swiftly. So I guess the short answer to you is stay tuned and stay positive.
Let's now get a wrap from happening so far regarding the IMF World Bank spring meetings, as multilateral partners have pledged to support Ghana's economic recovery. Our correspondent George Riafe filed this report all the way from Washington, D.C., USA.
If these assurances are anything to go by, then it is clear that Ghana is likely to get its program approved at the IMF board in the second quarter of this year, from the managing director of the IMF to the World Bank president and other multilateral partners. They feel that the current challenges that Ghana is going through cannot solely be put on our government has managed the economy, but also explains as well. On the part of government, we believe that they have met all the preconditions, with the exception of getting that assurance from creditors. And all these things should actually make a strong case for them to go to the IMF board. Well, first, they have to submit their document to the African Department of the World Bank for necessary scrutiny. And then they have to go through the other department at the World Bank. And they go through the other department at the IMF. And then they'll look for a date, possibly this month or next month. Well, for some, the real challenge is after the program, what will government be doing to stabilize the economy, stay on course, so like discipline with its finances? From Washington, D.C., this is Georgia, reporting with Joy Business.
Meanwhile, an associate professor of finance at Andrews University in the USA, William Spipra, believes the end of May deadline in securing a deal is not achievable, but rather sometime in June. He spoke earlier on the marketplace.
I mean, for me, end of May, if you ask me, I'm looking at June. Because after the spring meetings, all the bilaterals will have to go back, report to their government, then they have to look at their policies and what these decisions will affect them before they will talk to us. So in my perspective, we were able to get some fundings or final agreements sent to IMF for these funds to come in will be in the month of June. That is my prediction. But May will be too early. In history, countries that has fallen below a BBB ratings, normally we call them fallen angels. When they decide to, things decide to work well for them, they are able to bounce and go up very well. It's like going down and you are trying to find your feet up. Before Ghana will be able to come up as where we are, where we have gotten to probably is our worst case, and it's time for us to come up. So we may see the country having these challenges at the moment, but then it points to the fact that if government is able to get the IMF discussion as we are having, and also become very disciplined with this expenditure, be sure that things will turn out. So 2023, as projected, will be difficult, but between 2024 2025, we should see Ghana coming out of the woods.
Moving on, Fitch Solutions is warning that the Ghanaian economy will get tough before it bounces back strongly. It, however, insists that the economy will expand by 2.9% this year, lower than the below 2% revised forecast by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. It pointed out that leading indicators still point to weaker economic activity. Mike Kuninga is a country risk analyst for Sub-Saharan Africa and has been speaking at the quarterly Fitch Solutions Sub-Saharan Africa macroeconomic update this morning.
Fortunately, have no real signs yet that Ghana's economy is gathering momentum. In fact, I think it will get worse before it gets better. So if we look at the left-hand side chart here, you can see that we forecast economic growth to soften to 2.9% in 2023 from an estimated 3.3% in 2022. So both years being well below Ghana's 5-year pre-pandemic average of 5.3%. Our economic growth forecasts for Ghana are obviously informed by a large number of different variables, including forward-looking indicators. And what we see here is that the index turns negative for the first time since 2020. So really indicating that economic growth will be weak and will remain below Ghana's historic average over the coming quarters. So in brief, there's no real signs in the data yet that Ghana's economy is starting to recover.
You're still watching Business Live here on the Joy News channel with me, Beverly Broohm. Still to come, the Ghana Union of Traders Association entreats members to adjust prices of goods to reflect exchange rates and inflation decline. We'll hear from the president of the association, Dr. Joseph Obeng, after this break. Hello again, this is still Business Live with me, Beverly Broohm. We take a look at some other stories now. And the Ghana Union of Traders Association has entreated its members to respond positively to the changing trend and adjust prices to reflect the exchange rates. Now, according to the group, efforts by the government and the Bank of Ghana to bring down inflation and exchange rates are commendable, hence the call on its members to adjust prices. Thankfully, we have the president of GUTA joining us via Zoom, Joseph Obeng. Thank you so much, sir, for your time here on Business Live. How significant is the drop in inflation and stability of the exchange rate to you, for which you are making that call? Kindly unmute for me, sir. No, Mr. Obeng, I can't hear you. Please unmute for me.
Oh. Yeah, I'm unmuted.
Yes, it's better now. I can hear you.
Yeah. Inflation, the rate of inflation, 45%, is negligible, is insufficient for us. Because if you look at where we started, we are somewhere 13.5 and we're we are seeking to go as a single digit. And so if it goes to 45%, and then it pushes the commercial lending rate to over 40%, that's not correct. And that's why we are saying that we should take advantage of the reduction of the exchange rate, the downward trend of the exchange rate, to make sure that inflation comes down drastically. And that's why we are calling on government to make everything possible to sustain the gains that we are having. If we want inflation to come down further down. And then also we are saying that the customs valuation rate should also reflect the current trend of the exchange rate. Then also we are calling on the Bank of Ghana to reduce drastically the monetary policy rate to make lending.
It seems Mr. Joseph Obeng is frozen there, but we'll try and connect with him again for him to end his submission. But what we are talking about is that the Ghana Union of Traders Association are entreating their members to reduce prices of their products on the market, and that's why we're engaging the president of the union to tell us more about it. But let's hear what the public has to say about this.
If it were at 53.4 and now it is at 45%, all that we are saying is that the current price level had gone up by 45%, and so it's still high. Is it going to help us? Yes, it's helping those in a very quick business, making those short, quick profits. But when it comes to cost of living, then it is very bad for us. And so it's seriously not helping income levels. The current income level we have with the rising price levels, what it simply means is that we are getting less than before. And so it is just very bad.
Even though the inflation has dropped, I can bet you if you go to the markets, prices will still be high. Why? Probably because there's no price control system in place. If you ask, then they will still talk about transportation fares. And so we are praying that within the nearest possible time, prices will be reduced, fares will be reduced, so that Ghanaians will benefit from the fall in inflation.
The inflation is now at a double digit, which is 45 now. Now, fuel too has dropped, but when you look at we, the citizenry, and also from our output in terms of production, in fact, our sales has not actually increased, and then revenue too has not increased, because when you go into an average bar, a restaurant, from my alcoholic beverage point of view, you could see that it has actually dropped because the price at which distributors and other shareholders sell their products, because they've increased prices, they bought it at a price when the inflation was high. And now when you go to them that inflation has dropped and fuel has dropped, they will tell you the moment they bring the price down, they are going to run at a loss. So all of them, through the supply chain, you could see that the price is still very high and consumers are not making any profit out of it.
I would say that it is good that it's dropped down, but let us see how it will reflect in our pockets. As for the figures, they are okay, but it depends on the ground, the reality. Somebody might not understand, so he will still sell at the old price, but someone who understands it will drop the price.
So thankfully, we have Dr. Joseph Obeng back on Zoom to join us, explain some more issues to us. Mr. Obeng, how are you going to ensure that your members heed to the call or comply to this directive?
No, what we are doing is to appeal to the trading community. We are not in price control regime, and that we cannot enforce any prices on anybody. We are just guiding our members to reflect their pricing with the downtrend of the dollar, downward trend of the dollar. That's exactly what we have done. Then the rest is subjective, and especially when the retailers, they are the worst affected because the importers can easily adjust their prices when the exchange rate goes down. But the retailers cannot because they buy from the importers, and when the exchange rate goes down, they have nothing to do with the exchange rate unless they have been able to sell their old stock before they can replenish with the new ones that they can reduce their prices. And that's where the challenge has always been. And they are in the majority. And so essentially all that we are saying is that we want every means that will bring inflation down, that will bring the monetary policy rate down, that we are able to sustain the gains that we are having in the stability of the city. We have to do that. And then we are also appealing Ghana Revenue Authority to reduce the customs valuation rate to reflect the downward trend. And this is exactly what we seek that government do, and we ourselves also do, because that's our contribution as citizens, also to make sure that if we get some gains, we also give the compensation to the final consumer. This is exactly what, as trade leaders, we are trying to direct and guide our members to do.
Exchange rate or a hike in inflation. Mr. Obeng, can you hear me? But what happens next if we experience some volatilities in the exchange rate or hike in inflation?
Taking your time to read our press release. That's the first point of call. That all these gains will amount to nothing if we are not able to sustain it. The call that I'm making will amount to nothing if we get up tomorrow and then the exchange rate have again gone up. That means that nobody is going to have confidence because there's no stability. And then you say that you are pleading with us to reduce prices, but the next day the exchange rate is going to go up. So the onus lies on the managers of the economy to make sure that we sustain these gains that we are having, so that it can have direct impact and positive impact on the consuming public.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Obeng. We are pressed for time here, and that's how we end Business Live tonight. For more business news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I'm Beverly Broohm. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.